We've got Beverly Hallberg with the Independent Women's Forum, Republican fundraiser Nick Adams, Democratic strategist Antoine Seawright. Welcome to all. Beverly, begin with you. I mean, obviously the president's support is holding together here. I'm wondering if there are worries within the party it could fray with African Americans.
Well, I think when you even look at the suburban women vote, which did go towards the Democrats in the midterm elections, there's question about his style over substance. Are people going to disagree with style? But I also think when it comes to his strategy, people are asking, is this a communication strategy? I don't think his staff would put their stamp of approval on how he likes to counterpunch against what people say. I do think there's a reason why he called out Representative Cummings, who was very harsh on the acting DHS secretary, and has been very critical about what's going on the border. But we see a trend, and that is somebody will say something negative about Trump and his administration. You'll then see that the president will counterpunch and call them out for being un-American. Then the president is called racist. So we see this back and forth going on. I'm not sure if it hurts President Trump himself, but I think it's very hard for other members of the GOP to have to respond to these types of tweets.
You know, Nick Adams has a fundraiser. Republicans, you know, the president has a lot going for him when it comes to making an appealing case for African Americans, minorities in general, in terms of record low unemployment, big inroads on the part of minority-owned businesses. But just a couple of tweets and comments like these could implode all of that. Are you worried about that?
Neil, not at all. I think that the president has been masterful. I do think that there is a strategy behind this. I don't think that this is going to hurt the president in the slightest. I think the president has the guts to say what most Americans are thinking about. And the donor class is no different to that.
How is that masterful, Nick, to say go back to your country? I mean, whatever his intention was, do you think
that
hurt him?
The reality is, Neil, that what's going on in the inner cities needs to have a light shone on it. And that's exactly what the president is doing.
He's Antoine, what do you think of that? He's highlighting something, to Nick's point, that's out there. If all of a sudden you're going to hear criticism of his record in helping and serving and reaching out to minorities, you might as well hold their record to them as well.
Well, first of all, when you're the president of the United States, every community falls under your responsibility. So there is no certain constituency you represent. Second of all, we know the president says and tweets and does racist, right-wing, red meat behavior to generate a certain response from certain segments of the population, primarily people who continue to support him and vote for him. And it's just a distraction to get away from talking about the issues that matter. And he continues to go after women and people of color or people he view that will be controversial in some way, shape, or form.
If you're going to criticize the president or call him a racist, you're Elijah Cummings, your district includes where a lot of this stuff is happening under your watch. I'm not blaming the Congress any more than I am, let's say the president, but that is your neck of the woods, right?
Cavuto, name a district in this country, no matter where it is. One of the poorest districts in this country is in New York City, represented by a Republican. Name a district that does not have pockets of poverty. The problem is Elijah Cummings and people in Baltimore have opened their arms and wanted to work with the president on issues.
But this is a generational issue, right? This issue is not improved on Republican or Democratic presidents. Barack Obama bemoaned it. We had Senator Sanders bemoan it, right?
I do not disagree with that. But the problem is in the wording the president's used. When you say go back to where you come from the grandson of sharecroppers who grew up in South Carolina, I've heard stories about what that means and what that language means. When you use the word rat infested and so forth, those words mean something, and it means something to Trump.
Do you think he was deliberately racial intent?
Cavuto, everything Trump does is very calculated.
It's like Madonna.
Everything he does is calculated and it generates a certain response.
So, Beverly, let me ask you the fallout from this. Whether you agree or disagree with the president's wording and tone, are you worried that it's wiping out, and are you hearing from people who are worried that it's wiping out the real progress he's made with these communities that are now enjoying probably the best economic environment they've seen in decades?
Well, look at the unemployment rate of African Americans alone. It's at the lowest it's been in decades. Some are saying ever before. So when you take a look at the progress, there is a lot that he could tout. This changes the news cycle. It's at the top of your show today. This is what we're talking about today, another weekend tweet storm. Look, I think it's completely valid to call out cities like San Francisco and Baltimore for their crime and poverty, and for the politicians who run those cities who can't fix it. But it's the name calling. It's not helpful when he goes to some of the terminology he does.
No. Neil, African Americans could not have a greater president than President Donald J. Trump.
You gotta be kidding me. You have to say
He's-
this in a joking manner.
He's the best thing that has happened to the African American community in a long
That
time.
is that
Antoine, would you
political.
rather nice words or
Anybody
nice
that's
progress
truthful
on the
Listen,
job front, on the
will know
economic
that that's
front?
the fact.
It is political malpractice for you to sit here and say to me as an African American that Donald
No,
Trump
sir.
was the best thing to ever happen to me. I think it's a slap in my face, first of all, and I would
No, not
hope
at
that you
all.
wouldn't say that.
Isn't it
Second
a
of
slap
all,
in your
I-
face,
statistics.
Antoine? No,
Look
just
at the
get the
numbers.
politics and the heat. I grant you on both sides over the top. But is it an affront for African Americans who are now enjoying the lowest unemployment rates as an aggregate, as a group, ever? Is that an insult to them?
Can I tell you a political reality and a reality for people who look like me? There are people in our community and in communities across this country, even working poor white people who are trying to forget about trying to make ends meet. They're putting two ends together, hoping they meet under Trump's economy. So this idea that everything is so peachy and cream for people of color and communities around the country, I think is a false narrative. That's not the reality. There have been article after article who prove this point.
All right, final word on the subject. I'm not going to call you C, right? I'll just say Antoine and Nick and Beverly.
Thank you, Cavuto.
Thank you, Thank you, guys. You know, we had this thing in there. All right, now there's